Welcome everybody to the Eynesbury Information Session 2022. We'll just wait a little bit for the attendees to arrive. Welcome Lisa, welcome Louis, Tiong, Felicity, welcome to the information session. Vivian, Marina, Glenn, welcome to the session. Joshua, we got a hand up already. We'll just give us a few minutes, Yoki. I'm guessing that was an accident. All right, might get started, Thurunga. I think we've got most people that have joined, and I'm sure there may be a few more that join in the next few minutes. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us for the information session for the Eynesbury community or Eynesbury Township. My name's Jonathan Smith. I'm the General Manager of Quantum United Management. Joining me is the Client Manager and our Operations Manager, Thurunga Edarasaria. So welcome, Thurunga. So we'll start the information session. So I might get you to bring up the slides and what we're going to cover today. Thanks, Thurunga. Next slide. Okay, so today we're going to cover item number 1 is about Quantum. So our role as your Owners Corporation Manager for the Eynesbury Township. Item 2 is the Eynesbury Owners Corporation. So we touch on what is an Owners Corporation, owners' obligations, and the unique structure that Eynesbury is. Item number 3 is governance and compliance, which includes the OC and committee operations, meetings, including the annual general meetings and committee meetings, and also touch on the compliance management aspect of the township. Item 4 is communication, how and when Quantum communicate with lot owners. 5, we'll move on to the frequently asked questions. So there's just a few questions that we get asked throughout the year that we will touch on just for everyone's benefit. And lastly, we'll leave it open to the floor if there's any further questions and answers from members in attendance tonight. We do know that there was a few questions that were submitted through. We found a lot of them were related to the developer, so we can't answer those. We're only answering OC or Owners Corporation related questions. So we'll definitely touch on all of those OC related questions that have come through. So next slide, Thurunga. Okay, about us. So the services we provide as Quantum in our role as an Owners Corporation Manager. So at the moment with the company, we have approximately 35 team members now. So we are the leader in master plan community residential management across Victoria, and also venturing into other states as well over the coming months and years, which is exciting. And obviously Eynesbury Township is probably one of our most unique in our portfolio. And obviously excited and proud to be the manager for the past several years. So next slide, Thurunga. So in terms of our services that we provide for the Eynesbury community via the Owners Corporation, is we have a clear focus on the communication aspect, and also part of our role is financial management and reporting, OC operations, and the legislative compliance side as well. So in terms of our key duties, financial management, reporting and administration. So we ensure the proper books of accounts are maintained and that annual financial statements are prepared and issued to members with their AGM notice. We operate the bank accounts in the name of the OC. In terms of records, we maintain the records of the OC register as required under the legislation, receive and process all settlement documentation and maintain the member database. So in terms of the financial management reporting, so obviously we conduct committee meetings and where we need to provide detailed financial reporting to each committee meeting that we hold, so the committee can review and ask us questions with how the reporting, the cash flow, etc. is travelling and the expenditure. And we also, as a Tier 1 Owners Corporation, we also need to arrange with the qualified auditor to audit the accounts and provide an audit report with those documentation. And the other item is meetings. So we convene and attend and take minutes of each annual general meeting and all the committee meeting minutes. Legislative compliance. So we need to ensure that the OC operates within its legislative framework and the Act, and act upon the non-compliance of registered rules. So the governing documents for Eynesbury is obviously the OC Act, the Owners Corporation Regulations, the Subdivision Act. More specifically for the Eynesbury community, the registered rules and the design guidelines. And, following on from that is also the 173 agreements around the environmental management plans, which Thurunga will touch on a little bit later on into the session. Another item is resident member inquiries. So that includes obviously the owners of the properties, but also the residents that reside in there. With Eynesbury, there's obviously a high ratio of owner-occupied residents within that community, which is great. So in terms of that, we receive, process and respond to member correspondence and telephone inquiries regarding OC matters. We liaise on behalf of the OC and the committee, whether it be with the developer, council, service providers, solicitors, builders and other authorities when and if requested. We draft up the Owners Corporation certificate for settlements. So this is an important document that must be obtained from the OC and form part of the Section 32 contract of sale. And we also look after the Eynesbury app as well, the Eynesbury app that you can download. If you're a new owner, you can download the app on the App Store and get access to any announcements. We also upload documents and e-bulletins, photos, and we also, in terms of the app, we obviously process login requests and assist owners with navigating through that particular platform as well. Scrolling down, and lastly here is the insurance. So in terms of Eynesbury, obviously they don't have a big parcel of common property. However, they're still required under the Act to have insurance in place around the liability aspect of the Owners Corporation. And in terms of the team, so as you can see there, Thurunga is the client manager, and he's been the client manager for Eynesbury for a couple of years now. Kylie, she's the assistant client manager. She's been with Quantum for around 11 or 12 years, which is a long time. In terms of the community presentation team, Patricia or Trish is the team lead for the community presentation team, and she has another 5 team members underneath her. Accounts is managed by Cheryl Julian in our team. Obviously myself, General Manager, I oversee all of our portfolios and obviously liaise with Thurunga on a daily basis in terms of any complex issues. And we also get our founder, Michael, involved in strategic and high-level advice and assistance as well. So next slide, Thurunga. All right, so this is where I'll pass it over to you, mate.
Thanks, Jonathan. Welcome members to the information session. So from here on, I'll take you through until the end of the information session. So we'll start with the Eynesbury Township OC2. On this topic, we'll talk about what an owners corporation is, the purpose of your owners corporation, the owners corporation number 2, as well as lot owner obligations, as well as the obligations of the owners corporation. We'll touch on the structure of Eynesbury, and also we'll touch on a frequently asked question from us, which is where does the owners corporation fee go towards? Let's get into what an owners corporation is now. So what an owners corporation is, basically when an owners corporation is a collectively made up of all lot owners comprising of all residential lots within the township, and is formed upon the registration of the plan of subdivision. This is when the owners automatically become members of the owners corporation. Breaking that down in a layman's term is that when the developer initially in 2008 registered this plan of subdivision with Land Use Victoria, so it was registered as an owners corporation. So any land that was subdivided within that plan of subdivision became a member of the owners corporation. So when a lot owner purchases a lot, or when a lot is registered, you become the member of the owners corporation. So you are all members of the owners corporation as you attended today. So that's how an owners corporation is formed. So the owners corporation is a legal entity, so which allows it to make its rules, which are binding on the owners corporation, the owners and tenants, which covers the use of common property and their lot. So in saying that the owners corporation rules will apply to use of common property that belongs to the owners corporation, and use of lots, the lots that are part of the owners corporation. The rules does not apply to areas that does not belong to the owners corporation. A good example is that there are a lot of council assets within the township, such as roadways, laneways, nature strips, and footpaths. They're council assets. The owners corporation rules does not bind on those areas. The owners corporation rules only bind on common property, which is owned by the OC, or a lot that is a part of the owners corporation. And the Owners Corporation Act 2006 and Owners Corporation Regulation, which was passed by the Victorian Parliament, provides the legal framework and how an owners corporation is operated. So owners corporations within Australia or within Victoria are required to adhere to these pieces of legislation passed by the Victorian Parliament. Next, we'll touch on the purpose of your owners corporation. So the purpose of the main purpose of your owners corporation, why your owners corporation has been registered in the Plan of Subdivision to become an owners corporation is mainly to comply with the agreements that the owners corporations entered into, especially the 173 agreements. We'll talk about 173 agreements a bit later, but they're the main agreements that the owners corporation need to adhere to. And also the owners corporation needs to adhere to the legislations, which is the Act, the regulation, the Subdivisions Act, there's model rules, as well as the owners corporation registered rules. And another obligation of the owners corporation is to provide funding to the community association for the maintenance of the environmental areas or the implementation of the 173 agreements. Another obligation of the OC is to manage and administer the owners corporation, and also initiate the required insurances required by the owners corporation. We'll go on to a lot owner's obligation. As a lot owner who's purchased within the owners corporation, there's two main obligations for all lot owners within the township or within the owners corporation too. So the first obligation is the financial obligation. Financial obligation means making sure that every lot owner contribute their share of the budgeted cost incurred to administer the owners corporation. The legal obligation of the owners corporation members are to comply with the owners corporation rules and the legislation. So those are the two main obligations of a lot owner. We will head on to quickly on to touch on the main topic today, which is the structure of Eynesbury. As Jonathan mentioned earlier, structure of Eynesbury is very unique. This is one of a kind structure that owners corporation that we manage. So Eynesbury, just going into some information, is that Eynesbury Township has few owners corporations. So there is 4 owners corporations, which is the farm land or agricultural, the hotel, which is the commercial, the residential, which is the owners corporation number 2, and the golf course and commercial, which forms the recreational part of the township. So these are the four components that forms as the owners corporation, on top of it which the community association sits, and all these 4 owners corporations are members of the community association. So when the statutory framework for the redevelopment of Eynesbury was established, it was established to ensure there's a holistic approach to the long-term use and development of Eynesbury. A key consideration in approving the redevelopment of Eynesbury was a commitment made for protecting and managing of the environmental areas that surround the township. To support this framework, legal strategies were prepared. Those legal strategies were to make sure that there's four separate components, such as the farmland, the hotel, the residential component, golf course commercial within the township, and another body which sits on top of it, which is the committee association. So as members know, the committee association is who's responsible for implementing the 173 agreements, which the owners corporation is also part of, and the owners corporation and the other components are the other owners corporations provide funding towards the Eynesbury Community Association to implement these 173 agreements. So if the Eynesbury Association cannot implement these 173 agreements, then what would happen is later the council can step in and take over the management of these 173 agreements. But the structure has been put in place to make sure that there is an entity that is responsible for managing these 173 agreements. So you might ask, what are the environmental areas that are in Eynesbury? So there are 4 environmental areas within the Eynesbury Township, which is the grey box forest, the native grasslands, the Werribee River Valley, and the Green Hills. So they are collectively known as environmental significant areas. So each of these areas are required to have an environmental management plan, we shortly call as EMPs. So each of these environmental management plans should be implemented in order to maintain water and stream management, flora and flora protection, as well as controlling of pest, plants and animals. So that's what these environmental management plans are in place, and that's where the funding goes towards from the owners corporation across to the committee association, and who implements these 173 agreements. So that is a quick overview of the Eynesbury structure and who is responsible for which, and why the owners corporation is in place as well in order to fund these maintenance of the 173 agreements. If you do have any questions, we are happy to answer them at the end of the session. I know it is a unique structure. Not everybody is familiar with the structure of Eynesbury, but happy to answer any questions further down at the end of the presentation. Next, we'll touch on the frequently asked question, which is where does the owners corporation fee go towards? As you know, the owners corporation is a legal entity. As a legal entity, it has expenses, overhead expenses, as well as management expenses. So when compared to another owners corporation where they would have residential club facilities, golf courses, which will form a part of the owners corporation, but the owners corporation does not have that. As I mentioned earlier, the owners corporation has been incorporated for the sole purpose of funding the management of the 173 agreements. That means funding the Eynesbury Community Association for the implementation of the 173 agreements. So the last item on is management. The fees goes towards the committee association, but before that, there's other expenses that the owners corporation fees goes towards, such as financial audit and tax expenses, legal and debt recovery expenses, disbursements, insurance, DOC management fees that you pay for the management company, meeting expenses, compliance audit and management expenses as well. So those are the main items the owners corporation fee goes towards. Next, we will touch on governance and compliance. Under governance and compliance, we'll talk about the annual general meeting, the committee operations, as well as compliance management. So as you know, your annual general meeting is coming up next week, Wednesday at 6 p.m. At 6:30 p.m. At the Marquees at Eynesbury Homestead. We do ask members to arrive at least 30 minutes prior to the AGM to sign in. And also in the AGM documents that have been issued to members, you should find a registration link so that we know how many members are attending the AGM. So we do kindly ask that you if you're attending the AGM, if you do plan to attend the AGM, please do register for the AGM prior to attending as well. So your AGM, the Owners Corporation is required to hold the AGM every year under the legislation. There's a requirement, and at the AGM there are various motions that are passed by the members attending. So your AGM pack that has been issued a few weeks ago will include the notice of the AGM, the agenda for the night, as well as other documents that are required by the legislation to be included in the AGM pack, such as the audited financial statements of the Owners Corporation, the proposed budget for the coming financial year, as well as the reports by the Owners Corporation Committee and the Manager's Report. So those documents are legally required under the legislation to be included with the documents. Some of the key agenda items that the Owners Corporation will be discussing at the AGM is accepting the audited financials for the previous financial year, approving the budget for the coming financial year, approving fees for the coming financial year, as well as electing a new Owners Corporation Committee. So that is a quick touch on the annual general meeting and its procedure. Now we'll go on to committee operations. In order to be on the Owners Corporation Committee, it's always recommended that a Owners Corporation Committee consists of lot owners. Under the Owners Corporation legislation, the Owners Corporation require at least 3 members and a default maximum of 7 members in the committee, but the Act does allow the Owners Corporation to increase that up to 12 if the Owners Corporation requires to have more members in the committee. And the committee members hold office until the next AGM, and all members at that AGM would resign and a new committee would be elected. A new committee means if the same members can be elected, or a new members can be elected with the old members as well. Some of the main duties of Owners Corporation Committee listed for duties there, which is financial management, enforcing of the OC rules, attending meetings, as well as handling complaints or attending to grievance meetings. Under the Owners Corporation legislation, it says that the Owners Corporation Committee members' main duties are to act honestly and in good faith in performance of their duties and functions, must exercise due diligence and care when performing their functions, as well as not make improper use of their position to gain advantage directly or indirectly for themselves or for another person. So when it comes to Owners Corporation Committees, we all work within the legislation, and as Owners Corporation managers, we are there to guide the committee in the within the legislation framework. Next, we'll touch on compliance management. As you know, we appreciate many lot owners who's purchased within the township, especially purchased because of the streetscape and design controls that are in place. And we understand the key reason for your purchase is the streetscape that consists of presentation, street appeal, and well-maintained properties. On behalf of the Eynesbury Township, we want to thank everyone who takes the time and effort to maintain their properties in the township, particularly the nature strip, landscaping, and controlling the visibility of caravans, trailers, and trucks that are parked on lots. The Owners Corporation has two components when it comes to compliance management. First component is the registered rules. The registered rules, when we call registered rules, which means the rules have been registered with Land Use Victoria. When an owners corporation rules is registered with Land Use Victoria, they are legally enforceable. So that means the owners corporation can enforce these rules via VCAT or a higher authority. So the rules form a part of the basic structure, which gives the lot owners what they can do and can't do within the township, within the owners corporation too. And any breach of these rules, which apply to a lot, is managed by the compliance team at Quantum, and we follow through the compliance process until the matter is resolved. The other component of compliance is design guidelines. As you know, you do have design guidelines attached to your lots, that when you do purchase your property within the township, Section 32 includes the design guidelines as well, which requires you to make sure that your plans are approved, and also make sure that once you construct your property or install your landscaping, it aligns with the design guidelines. And these design guidelines are attached or included with the planning permit of each stage. That means the council has signed off on these documents. So, and the council is responsible for management of non-compliance. So when our compliance team does come across properties that are not in compliance or not in compliance with design guidelines, what we do is we report these matters to the council, and then the council will carry on the compliance management from there on, and enforcement. So that's on compliance. We will now touch on our communication methods as well. At Quantum, we do have few methods of communicating with lot owners. So mentioned 4 methods up there, which is via the Eynesbury community app, which you can find documentation, as Jonathan mentioned earlier. There is documentation such as AGM, previous AGM minutes, committee meeting minutes. So every committee meeting, after every committee meeting, the minutes are posted on the app for members to view as their owners corporation documents. Any other document that are related to the OC, which is the rules, legislation, 173 agreements, they're all available for members to view via the app. And also we do have articles that we post on the app as well. And if you want to get some information quicker to members, then we use our electronic communication platform to issue e-bulletins out. And if you do members want to update the email addresses with us, please do send us a quick email, and we can update your email address so that you will receive these correspondence on a timely manner. On a day-to-day basis, we use email and phone calls that come through, and we do get many calls and many emails that come through from the township lot owners as well as residents, and that is our main form of communication with members. And information sessions like these, so we do hold information sessions prior to the AGM or when required. That is to answer your question that you might have. Sometimes because the AGM is structured onto a specific agenda, there might not be a time to answer all questions. So this is a platform where we allow members to ask questions or send questions through before the information session, and then we can provide answers during the session. So these sessions are very valuable for members, especially for new members who have purchased lots within the Eynesbury township recently. This is very valuable for them. And that's on communication methods. Now what we will do is we'll go open to our frequently asked questions. Some of these questions would have been answered or touched on during the presentation, but which I will skip and go on to ones that have not been answered or touched on. But if you do want further clarification in the open Q&A session, you can definitely come in via audio, or you can type in your question in the Q&A chat box, and we are very happy to answer them for you. With regards to the first question there, structure and scope of the owners corporation, we have covered that point during the presentation, but if anybody just want a further further clarification, happy to provide that. Next question is, where does my OC fee goes to us? We have provided a response to that question as well. The next question is, my house has not been built yet. Should I still pay the fees? Yes, the owners corporation members, as soon as you purchase a lot within the owners corporation, you have that financial obligation. That means you are required to contribute your owners corporation fees. The fees should be contributed even if you're not built, you're yet to build, or you're in the process of building, and also once you complete it. So it does not define when you need to pay. You need your fees. The fees need to pay from the very first day. Why is my nature strip not being mowed? That is the next question. The owners corporation used to mow nature strips until mid last year, and the owners corporation committee did take some legal advice regarding mowing of nature strips by the owners corporation, providing that service to members. And the legal advice said that the owners that is not the core responsibility of the owners corporation to provide that service to members, and the owners corporation is required to pass a special resolution in order to provide that service. The owners corporation did carry out a special resolution ballot in May this year, ended in June. Unfortunately, the ballot did not pass due to insufficient votes or more votes received against the ballot. The next question is, who is responsible for monitoring commercial vehicles passed within the community or township? Commercial vehicles parked on nature strips, roadways, laneways in the township are council responsible, as their council assets. The owners corporation cannot make rules or enforce rules on council assets or council areas, but the owners corporation can enforce rules on areas that form within the lot. If there's a truck that is parked on a lot, or a caravan that's parked on a lot, or a trailer that's parked on a lot, that is enforceable by the OC, and the OC does issue compliance notice against those lot owners. Touching on the same question here, who is responsible to monitor commercial vehicles parked within the community? If it's the roadways, the council, we do recommend members to use the Snap Sensol app to report matters to the council. I think which we have seen a very effective way of communicating with the council. Another question is, my neighbor keeps parking on the nature strip. Whom should I report to? Yes, the nature strip, please do report them to the council. The council has strict laws when it comes to parking on nature strips, and the council does issue fines for members who park on nature strips. What happens if I do not pay my fees by the due date? If members do not or is unable to pay their fees by the due date, the owners corporation does charge an interest on outstanding fees until they're paid in full. The owners corporation at the AGM, there are motions that are passed by the owners corporation to allow the owners corporation to charge interest on outstanding fees. So this is a deterrent for members for not paying fees on time. As you know, the owners corporation requires the fund in order for it to operate, and your funds that come in on time allows the owners corporation to operate and be financial. Yes, we do have another very good question that we received, which is, why do we have an owners corporation when most things have been taken over by the council? Now, as we mentioned earlier, the main purpose of the Eynesbury Owners Corporation 2 is to provide funding to the Eynesbury Community Association to implement the 173 agreements. In order to provide that funding, the structure that the Eynesbury is formed under is required to have an owners corporation where the residential members form a part of. Unfortunately, those are the legal frameworks that have been put in place in order to make sure that there is a structure that is available within the township, within Eynesbury, to provide funding and to maintain those 173 agreements.
And I suppose just to add to that, Thurunga, obviously in terms of planning approval and, council allowing such a development to be built close to significant environmental areas, this is the structure that they came up with. So just to ensure that obviously all the people or community that live within that environmental significant areas are also, responsible for making sure it's maintained and well looked after. So, and that's obviously, one of the big draw cards that makes Eynesbury one of the most unique communities within Victoria. We've just got a few more questions, Thurunga, that have come up through the open questions. Marina asked, can you tell me who is the owner of the 4 environmental areas? It is, and Thurunga can elaborate probably more on this, but as I understand, it's the founding member and agricultural member of the community association, which is predominantly made up of the developer entities that own the land throughout the.
That's correct. Some of the environmental areas are owned by Resimax and currently, and some of the environmental areas are owned by Fuchang, which is another land investment company.
Yep, and we've got Felicity has put through a couple of questions as well. Thanks for those comments, Felicity. Great information. She said there are a lot of prickly pear cactus in the grey box forest areas near our house. I understand they're considered an invasive weed. Are there plans to have these removed under the 173 agreement?
I will touch on that, Jonathan. Yep. Currently, Felicity, the 173 agreements requires the landowners to bring those 173 those areas or the 173 environmental significant areas to a specific standard. So under that standard, yes, they are required to remove any invasive species or weeds, and also as well as have fencing around those areas. So currently, the landowners are required to do that initial works. So we're waiting for those initial works to happen within those areas. So the owners corporation, touching on that as well, the owners corporation is currently not funding the maintenance of these areas until those landowners bring those areas to a specific standard, which is required under the 173 agreement. So the owners corporation has put a hold on funding them, because the owners corporation is not required to fund them until it's brought to that specific standard. So currently, the community association, from the information that we have received, is that they're working with the landowners to get these areas up to a specific standard. In that process, they will be removed. Yes.
A few more come through Thurunga as well. What exactly does the money go towards? Do you guys release the dollar figure and show us where it is distributed? Yep, well and truly. So in terms of the annual general meeting, each year there's a proposed budget that's put forward, which is drafted with your current elected committee. And once they endorse the budget that they're happy with, that's tabled at the annual general meeting, and all the financial reports are also provided. So that gives a breakdown of all the fees that have been received from all the lot owners into the Owners Corporation bank account, and all the expenditure also that's gone out. So it's all accounted for, and also the financials are audited as well by an accounting firm. So it's all completely transparent and above board. And yeah, so you get to see all of that. Thanks for that question. The next one, Thurunga, is who do I reach out for lighting us Green Hills Road? It's extremely dark and dangerous at night.
Those Green Hill Road is a council road, so it's the authority who's managing those areas will be the Melton Council.
Yep, that's right. I've just had a follow-up from that same person. Thanks for that. Also, what time is the AGM? I have the email with the date, but no time. Thurunga, what's the time of the AGM next week?
AGM starts at 6:30 p.m. at the marquee. Yeah, and to arrive at least 30 minutes earlier or before the AGM, that would be great.
Yeah, it just helps with signing and registering people to arrive a little bit early, just so that we can start the actual AGM on time, so everyone's signed up and identified before we start. So thanks for that. I've got a question here from Karanagram. Confirm it's not just implementing 173, but also ongoing maintenance. OC will not stop once 173 is implemented. Yes, that's correct. So like what Thurunga mentioned, the initial landowners or the current landowners have to ensure that all of those particularly environmental areas are brought up to a standard. So once it's brought up to a standard that's meeting the 173 agreement requirements, that's when the OC takes over on an ongoing basis. So it is an ongoing basis that the OC and its residents and any other members of the community association contribute towards that ongoing maintenance. So I hope that answers your question. Do we get a view of how the funds are used by the CA? The OC is a member of the CA. Thurunga could probably elaborate more in terms of the financial reporting aspect of the CA.
With regards to financial reporting, the CA does, as Jonathan mentioned, we do have a member of the Owners Corporation who represents the Owners Corporation at the CA level, and all the other members as well do have a member who represents at the CA level. So they do get a view of the CA documents. So that's those documents, financial documents, are available only for the committee members of the CA, which the Owners Corporation member is a part of. And if you do need any further information on that, if you do send a request to the Owners Corporation member or the committee, and that member can provide that information across to yourself or any other member who wishes more information on how the CA funding is used.
Yep, thanks for that, Thurunga. Got one from Joshua. Can we get the permits for upcoming work added to the Eynesbury app? The permits for upcoming work added to the Eynesbury app. I'm assuming, are we talking about the planning permits for the development? Might just need some clarity on that. Is that what you understand of that, Thurunga?
I will need further information as well. While we get Joshua to put that information in there, we do have Vivian who has raised a hand, so we'll bring Vivian in. Hi Vivian, how are you? You can mute yourself and ask your question live.
Hello, you there, Vivian?
That's okay. We will, Josh.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I found the little button.
There you go, Vivian.
Good, good. I've got two questions. One was on Thuranga's little slide before with all the bullet points. We missed out on the last one, which was, will all the lot owners be paying that, i.e. the new stages being built? Will they all be paying OC fees?
My apologies, Vivian. Yep, I'm happy to answer that after you ask your second question if you want me to go into that.
The second question, it was, and I don't know if you can answer this, but with the 173, and I know it's probably been asked a million times before, there must surely be a way that the owners can get out of that. I mean, that land belongs to the developers and yet we have to pay for it. There must be a legal way of getting out of this.
Or has it been explored?
Look, historically, I can't. Look, it's been a number of years, obviously, since Eynesbury first started. I suppose, the whole basis of this whole development is around the planning and approvals of all of these 173 agreements. So, in terms of the existence of this community, is only possible because they actually have been made responsible for those environmental areas. So the answer to that, it's a very complicated and complex question, I suppose. Probably one that would need a lot more looking into. But I suppose on the face of it, it's like what I said. It's the whole structure and the whole community foundation and basis is built on the fact that it has to maintain those areas. So it
Yeah.
would be a challenging one for him.
But when I look at the breakup of who's paying what, we seem to be paying the majority of it. The owners are paying, what, 2.5%? And the lot owners pay the rest.
Yes, that is correct. So currently, as long as there's the owners corporation members, the OC2 pays up to 90% and above of the funding of the committee association. That's how the Eynesbury 173 agreements. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at those agreements, Vivian, but that's what the 173 agreement states. And also further, the 173 agreement states that if any of the other owners corporation are not operating, then the residential owners corporation takes on that burden of 2.5% as well.
As well?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Who would you take that up with? I mean, there's got to be a way to explore this somehow.
Yeah, the owners of the 173 are sign off of the 173 are the Melton and the Wyndham councils.
Yeah.
So the two main authorities that are in charge of the 173s. And they are the authorities that will most probably take up a question like this from the township.
Okay. No worries. Thanks.
Thank you. And while I'll perfect, I will answer the last question that I missed as well on the slide. Will all the lot owners, for example, new stages be paying owners corporation fees? Yes, all lot owners, any new lots that are added to the owners corporation will start paying owners corporation fees from the date of registration of that lot with the land use Victoria. Any other questions, Jonathan, that we received?
Yep. We have Felicity. You may not be able to answer this question, but how guaranteed the land owners are being made accountable for the standard of the environmental areas, because I don't think they are currently. As I understand, there's consultants involved in this whole. So there's experts around the environmental areas that obviously would make an assessment. Correct me if I'm wrong, Thurunga, of the actual areas and ensuring that they're actually to standard, and obviously a report. My apologies for that. A report also provided to that effect.
That's great, John. So what I do have a bit more information then, because I've been attending committee meetings, so with regards to the standard, yes, they are required to bring to a specific standard. So the council, the two councils involved need to sign them off, and also then thereafter they need to maintain those areas for a year's period time before it's handed over to the OC or the committee association to fund. So the council definitely need to sign off once they're brought to a specific standard.
Okay, we've got one here. Hope that answered your question, Felicity. Who owns Mrs. Peacock? Can we get them to open up for brekkie on weekends or dinners for Sundays? Their trading hours are not the best. Mrs. Peacock, Thurunga, do you know the...
Sorry, I would not have any knowledge about the owners of Peacock. I know it is, most probably might be the developer, but I might be wrong. Sorry, I'm not able to answer that question for you.
All right. Okay, so from Joshua McDermott, yes, I understand it's not an OC area, but in the interest of keeping the community up to date, can we get the planning permits for future development stored somewhere on the Eynesbury app? Oh, okay, so this is, and now Joshua, this is a developer related question. So this would have to be asked from the developer, and I suppose whether or not they'd like to include it on their website and the Eynesbury section within the developer's website, Resimax. So it's something that would have to be taken up with them. The committee are clear that we just want to keep the owners corporation independent from the developer and not merging the two. So that's that. We got Glenn Kosovich. Why are OC fees so much cheaper now as compared to years ago when we first moved in? They used to pay $1,500 a year. Now barely 1,000. I think he meant they used to be $1,500 a year. Now barely 1,000.
Oh, sorry, barely 100. So Glenn, main reason is that, Glenn, currently, as we mentioned earlier, the Owners Corporation has put a pause on funding the community association, providing funding to the community association because of the initial works not taking place. So the Owners Corporation does not need to raise those funds until it is required. So that's why the Owners Corporation has not budgeted that big amount of expense in the last few years until so once those environmental areas are up to standards signed off by the council and monitored for 1 year, and then the community association is ready to fund the ongoing maintenance, then the Owners Corporation fees will increase accordingly. And also, as you mentioned earlier, it was 1,500. I've gone through the financials for the first few years of the Owners Corporation. When it incorporated, the Owners Corporation was taking out insurance as well on behalf of individual lots, which happened during those times, but that's not happening. So the Owners Corporation under the Act is required to take for common property and its liability, which it has taken, and the lot owners are now responsible for their own insurances to be taken out.
Okay, so we got a few more here. If Section 173 is no longer required or has been finalised, you can apply for a permit to have it removed from the title. Again, that's going to be a council type of inquiry. And yeah, in terms of our knowledge of the 173, it's an ongoing obligation or responsibility to maintain those areas. I've got a question from Nicole. Just read recently that design guidelines are not enforceable, but you said that they are. I'm confused. This is the paragraph that I'm referring to. Recently, the team at Quantum brought to the committee's attention a landmark VCAT decision handed down early 2022, confirming the Owners Corporation cannot enforce documents referenced to within the registered OC rules. The OCT committee have considered all the information available and resolved that the OC2 no longer be undertaking breaches of compliance. So in terms of that, Nicole, it's a complicated one, but essentially there was a change recently in terms of the interpretation of the design guidelines by reference, and this was based on a recent VCAT decision that was passed. So historically, in terms of adherence to the registered rules and design guidelines, these are all established and put into place and appropriate resolutions passed. So, however, you know, like any form of legislation or legal document, sometimes if it goes to VCAT and there's an actual decision or it's been tested, that's what we're talking about here. So, basically, what's occurred is there was a big case out at Ballarat Way in terms of a community, probably similar to Eynesbury, a lot smaller, but surrounded by a golf course, and in short, very short. The member essentially made the decision that any documentation, including design guidelines by reference, for this particular community only, so that they have obviously their own specific structure and requirements, but in relation to this particular matter and community only, the documents by reference aren't enforceable, and this is the design guidelines aspect. So this is why the committee were alerted to this. Obviously, once we were advised of this decision, and as a result, the committee made a decision that they're just going to stick to the rules only. So in terms of design guidelines from initial build, that's all linked through your contract of sale, and all the provisions and requirements from the initial build are not able to be challenged because it's all built into the original contract and the requirements of what you need to build originally. So it's a lot longer case, and obviously it needs a lot more. If you're on the committee, you can obviously have a lot longer discussion about it and learn a bit more about it. I don't know if you want to add any more to that, Thuranga.
Yes, with regard on continuing with your answer to Nicole, the design guidelines are, as mentioned earlier, are signed off by the council, and the council is the main authority that can enforce these design guidelines legally. And as we mentioned in our correspondence to all lot owners within the township, that the matters are being transferred across to the council to be enforced via the enforcement teams, because as those councils signed off on those documents against the planning permits, and they have got that authority, which if you do look at some legal advice the Owners Corporation received is on the Eynesbury app. The two times the Owners Corporation got advice to confirm that what they have taken, these design guidelines enforceable or not through the Owners Corporation rules, and both of those advice has come back and said that the Owners Corporation rules should guidelines should be enforced by the council. And this case in early 2020 has confirmed that advice as well. So the Owners Corporation did not make the decision based on this case, but their information were based mainly on the legal advice, and this case gave it more grounds for the Owners Corporation to take that decision.
That's right. In early 2022, you meant.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Hope that answered as best we could, Nicole, with quite a complex matter that the committee are across. Okay, so Nicole's followed up with another question. What happens in regards to solar panels now? There is a huge push for us to turn to solar power, but is restricted in our guidelines. Can we install them on our houses now where they will be most efficient regardless of the road they are facing? That's a change as well. I suppose outside of that case, Nicole, there was an amendment to the OC Act around the installation of sustainability items. So that come into effect on the 1st of December 2021 with the amendments of the Owners Corporation legislation, where essentially the OC can't restrict the installation of solar or sustainability items on your property based on aesthetic grounds. Again, it's a lot more complicated with that, and a lawyer, I'm sure, will be a lot more comprehensive than I am. However, that was a recent introduction or amendment to the legislation. So the answer to that is it's clear now that it can't be denied on aesthetic grounds. So I hope that assists with that question, Nicole. We got one from Lawrence Thurunga. Why do people keep referring to Eynesbury as a development? My understanding is that is it a township and development happens within that town. Interesting that one developer owns the town. Okay, I think it's probably more of a statement. Yes, it is officially an Eynesbury township, most definitely, Lawrence. In terms of development, relates to, I suppose, a property development. So, yeah, one is the development of the infrastructure and the property and the lots, and then you've got the overall official proper title is the Eynesbury Township. No problems, Nicole. Any more, Thurunga, that's come through?
No, that's all questions that we have received this evening. If we do not have any further questions from members, we're happy to finish off our presentation for this evening, and hope to see you all at the AGM, the upcoming AGM next Wednesday at 6:30. Thank you very much, members.
Thanks, everybody.
See you.